Hello, my name is Urquhart Stewart. I'm here this afternoon with my friend and colleague, Chris Justham. Now, let me take you all the way back to when 7IM was founded back in 2002. We've actually had the opportunity, and very proud to actually working with the best of the financial planning community. And that, of course, is, well, you. What you've told us is that where an at-retirement space is concerned, responding to the demands of both the regulator and your clients is somewhat challenging. Now, working out how to provide an income for someone who can retain the value of the principal and live off the income is actually quite straightforward. Things like natural yield, smoothed or structured products, selling units for growth, there are lots of ways you can skin that particular cat. What about those, though, who actually want to spend it? It's their money, why not? To run their money down over time, who aren't in the position to do anything but find out the specific amount that they can afford to spend from their pot each year. This is eminently more challenging because you end up being the last line of defence against those people who are quite literally running out of money. And if that wasn't enough to keep you up at night, in the most recent sector review, the regulator highlighted that advisor firms were yet to update their propositions for these decumulation clients. For us, therefore, this was a very clear call to action. So, Chris, what have we been doing about it?
Well, we've actually been working on a solution to this for the past 2 or 3 years. And what we've designed is the 7IM Retirement Income Service. And it's called as such because it's a ready-to-use drawdown strategy, and it is there to de-risk your business whilst also providing more consistent outcomes for your clients.
Sounds a bit too good to be true, but how does it actually work?
Great question. I think the sensible place to start with this is with a formula to calculate whether or not someone's desired income is achievable or not.
Well, surely we're actually teaching people to suck eggs here, aren't we? Because when you look at this, many planners already have cash flow forecasting models and structures like that. Isn't that enough?
A lot of these tools do a lot of the things you mentioned. So estimated growth rates, you can do net of fees, you can index it for our friend inflation. But quite often they're missing out a really important factor that can have a huge impact on the success or failure of a plan.
Which is?
Market movement.
Right.
And the impact that this can have on someone achieving their goal or not. Because a lot of these tools assume linear or straight line growth. Obviously that doesn't take into consideration the fact that markets go up and down. Some of the other tools do indeed take into consideration some kind of market movement, and they model for this. But quite often the modelling is mutually exclusive from the investment that's actually being recommended. So it doesn't help at all. So what instead that we've done is take all these different variables together that I've mentioned, so estimated growth rates, net of costs, we've taken into consideration thousands upon thousands of different scenarios overlaid on the actual investments that are being recommended and advised upon, which is a much more robust method of this forecasting process that I just mentioned. I think if you're not careful, you can rely on received wisdom, hoping that everything's going to be okay, as opposed to seeing what actually might well happen with the investments that you've selected.
But the problem with this, surely, you end up having to run these scenarios for every single client.
Yeah, absolutely right, and you need to, because every client is different. So the process starts anew for every person that comes through the door because their circumstances and their objectives are also different. So what's equally crucial when we're talking about this is ensuring that you've got a framework in place to ensure that regardless of the registered individual that they meet within your firm, regardless of the level of assets that they've got, because the prod review most recently was very clear on this, there has to be consistent outcomes for clients. So the framework is equally important.
And this then gives us a great opportunity to have yet another acronym. Now we've come up with a CRP, the Centralised Retirement Proposition. Chris, what on earth is that?
Well, this is the hot topic within the industry, and the regulator is basically saying that they want to see something akin to a centralised investment proposition for retirement clients. And we think the Retirement Income Service and the consistent outcome that it provides allows you to answer that question quite neatly.
Well, that all sounds wonderful, but playing devil's advocate, what if the world suddenly comes to an end tomorrow? The doom-mongers win and markets actually fall out of bed. Is this actually going to help?
Well, this is where the framework that I mentioned just really comes into its own, because let's just assume, using an example, we've already gone through the process at the beginning. We calculate the optimal level of income that someone needs and all the numbers stack up. The next stage is putting the theory into practice. So unexpected events, unfortunately, can and do happen, and they continue to do so. So what we need to be able to do is put the money into short, medium and long-term pots to ensure that we're not putting any undue stress on the portfolio when income is required. Now, in terms of the short-term pot, we can come up with any weird and wacky or wonderful solutions for this, but we're at risk of recreating the wheel unnecessarily, rather than going for something that's really simple. Because from our perspective, there's this one syllable answer that does this really nicely, and that's cash.
Okay, but doesn't it in turn cause us another problem? So, for example, if we're dragging down a client's overall risk profile, then opening them up to a different sort of risk, inflation. And that arguably is posing just as much of a threat to your goal as if you had too much equity in your portfolio.
I think that's a really good point, and this is a topic in the industry that is debated and discussed all the time. And do you know what? I'd probably agree that licking your finger and putting it up in the air isn't really going to give you the kind of outcome that you need when we talk about robust, repeatable and consistent. So we need to rely on maths and science here. By using that information, it allows us to calculate, for example, how long it takes a portfolio to recover when markets are down. And if you've got that information, you've then got a robust answer to the question. We can then build portfolios that are flexible and adaptable to the real world, that can deal with the effects of pound cost ravaging and sequence risk, whilst also ensuring, crucially, that clients remain, I suppose, within their agreed risk profile. And it's available across multiple different tax wrappers, that's important to mention. So we take the lead from financial planners here because you're the ones who know, obviously, what you're doing in this area. What we then do, though, in the background is take all of the construction, the ongoing management, the regular rebalancing off of your hands, as well as the reporting, to enable you to have time back. It's that most precious resource. You're reducing risk within your business at the same time, because what this does is enables the planner to remain at the centre of the relationship, whilst relying on a named individual at 7IM to do a lot of the heavy lifting in the background.
Okay, but this is actually available for use right now?
It is indeed. Yeah, and the feedback on this has been great. Not just on the service, by the way, but on the reporting as well. And I'd love to say that we can pat ourselves purely on the back for this, but a lot of it is because we're getting feedback from some of the financial planners we work with really closely. Because we completely fall down on this if we slip into investment speak. Because giving people reassurance at outset and confidence is all about the management of expectations and being able to tell them exactly what's going on. The dial, if you like, that shows people as an example how unlikely or how likely it is that they're going to reach their goal is the kind of thing each year that people can really engage with, as opposed to just reams and reams of numbers. So with this, we set out to achieve two things, and that was to provide the best outcome for clients, that head on the pillow comfort, if you like, and reassurance I mentioned, but crucially also the optimal outcome for your business, which is a robust and repeatable process that stands up to scrutiny.
Chris, thank you very much. So, there you have it, the 7IM Retirement Income Service. We hope you found this video useful, although clearly there's an awful lot more underneath the bonnet. We'd love to tell you more about it, so please do get in touch. And from Chris and myself, thank you for watching.